Have you ever engaged in a serious debate over which is better, Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings? Have you ever played Smash or Pass using only characters from Star Wars and Marvel movies? If you answered yes to any of these questions, we have the podcast for you. Listen to The Steam Gentleman, the podcast where an expert panel convenes to ask the questions about pop culture and social commentary that other podcasts are afraid to ask. Listen to The Steam Gentleman on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Ladies and gentlemen, Wrestling Fans International Association is back. That's right, the premier fan club association of the 1970s and 1980s has been revived and is back in business. Join today. It's free at thewfia.org. That's THEWFIA.org. You can also join us on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/WFIA 1969. Welcome back, everybody, to the 1987 Supermod. I am your host, Brad Drake, and this is the World Wrestling Association. That's right, it's the WWA out of Indiana, and it has been quite some time since we've played around with the WWA, and I have been messing with the WWA once again here, of course, in a different save now under version 10.1. So on this episode, we're just going to go over what I've been doing with this save before we get into showing any shows or episodes or spot shows or that kind of stuff. So anyway, something caught my eye when I logged in here, and we are in September of 87, so we're 5 months into the game, and you can see here that Polynesian Pacific Championship Wrestling has been bought out by the WWF, and then check this one out, everybody. I have not seen this take place in the 1987 Supermod yet. Greg Gagne has won the AWA World Heavyweight title from Nick Bockwinkel. I'm sure this is probably what Vern Gagne really wanted to do at some point in the AWA. It just never came to fruition because it probably would have been a disaster. And we'll see what happens in the game here. Now, with that said, with the AWA, of course, in version 10.1, we are sister companies with the AWA, and we have also joined the AWA World Class and CWA Alliance here. So we are in that with them. Every once in a while, they borrow Greg Wojciechowski, or they've even borrowed Scott Recksteiner before, that kind of stuff. Let's take a look at our titles, everybody. Obviously, as you can see, I have been at this for 5 months in the game. I have had a really busy couple of weeks and have not been able to do any recording, and frankly I've been kind of burned out between work and doing these shows and everything else going on. I'm also been very heavily involved with the resurgence of Wrestling Fans International Association, so all these things have been taking up a great deal of time. For those of you that aren't members yet, check it out. It's free. You can head over to the WFIA.org and you can get all the information on our organization over there. Once again, it is free to join, and your membership will give you a free digital subscription to Wrestling Fan News. It's our bi-monthly publication, and it will also give you voting privileges and a bunch of other great opportunities and things going on. For those of you unfamiliar, WFIA was a really big fan organization in the 70s into the 1980s, and then it kind of went by the wayside. And we've brought it back here in 2023, everybody. And it's an exciting time, so check it out. It is free to join, and it's really good stuff. All right, so titles. The WWA only had 2 championships and in its entire existence. So we are going to stick with that. I'm not going to add any championships. We're going to keep it this way. The AWA had world titles in name only. It was a very tiny promotion, and frankly, by 1987, the AWA was in some serious trouble, financially, talent-wise, everything. It was not as great of a promotion as it once was, and frankly, it was never a world-class promotion. But it was a fun promotion, and a promotion that had a rich history and a lot of really cool stuff. But rarely did the WWA leave Indiana. They would travel into Chicago, do joint shows with AWA. Sometimes they would do some shows in the Detroit area. Sometimes they would do some shows in Ohio. But that was about it. So it was at this point, it's pretty much a one city, a one town promotion, where it had at least been a little bit of a regional promotion beforehand. But we're doing our best to build things up, and we're taking our time and doing it right. So Scott Rechsteiner, also known as Scott Steiner, is still our heavyweight champion of the world. He won that title in August of '86, and it is now September of '87. He still has the belt. In real life, in May of 1987, he dropped the title back to Greg Wojciechowski, also known as the Great Wojo. So he still has that title. Now, to make things interesting, I brought in Jerry Blackwell and Baron von Raschke and tagged them up and used them as a tag team, and they are reigning World Tag Team Champions, and they have had the title for just about 6 months here in the game. They won it in May, and we are in September, so not 6 months, I'm sorry. They've had the title for 4 months, and they're good. They're a good tag team, and their names, and they're exactly, what we kind of needed in the promotion here. So we'll take a look at our schedule, and then I'll show you our roster and what we're doing with the roster. Everybody, I'm not keeping this one as realistic as possible. I sort of am with the TV show and the tour dates and stuff like that, but I'm not doing it with the roster because WWA was in serious trouble at this point in '87, and I'm trying to save the WWA and rebuild it. So let's go ahead and take a look at our events. We have one television show. It's Bruiser Bedlam. I have extended it to a syndication type thing. We are all over the country and into Canada on syndication under television. We have a weekly show on Tuesday nights, the Tyndall Armory show. We have it on Tuesday nights because it makes it easy for us to still use our AWA talent that we use. And just yesterday, not in the game world, but yesterday in real life, I decided I'm going to start running a spot show every 2 weeks. So that's it, everybody. That's all this promotion is doing right now. Okay? We are slowly but surely climbing out of the financial hole. We think we were $250,000 in debt to begin with. We're now down to $131,000. We're raking in about $30,000 a month. Our merchandising is helping us out here. And yeah, we'll even be able to earn some more money here when we start running the spot shows. So we are crawling out of debt, and we're trying to get the WWA back to at least where it was as a regional promotion, but it's going to take some time, everybody. And I got to tell you, the older I get and running TEW and the more I learn about it, I'm enjoying these ones of fighting out of the cellar, and it's enjoyable. Of course, you all know my playing style. We've gone over that before. A lot of people disagree with my playing style, and that's fine. You can disagree with my playing style all you'd like. That's fine. One thing you can't say though is that I have the wrestlers overpowered, because that has been fixed in 10.1. That's not the case anymore. These wrestlers are not overpowered at all. So let's take a look at our roster. It's going to be a lot easier to look at it on the spreadsheet, everybody. I was just building our television show, which will most likely be tomorrow's episode. So we have our heavyweight champion of the world. That's Scott Rechsteiner, Jerry Blackwell, and Baron von Raschke are our world tag team champions. We're carrying about 32 wrestlers, 33 if you include Sheik Adnan LKC. That's a pretty good size roster for this small of a promotion. Everybody gets featured on TV just about every other week. Some names that we have brought in, some talented names. We brought in Chris Adams. We brought in the young Terry Taylor. I signed young Ron Powers from Windy City. We are slowly building him up. We brought in the Windy City Dream Team from Windy City, and I've renamed them the Strong Brothers. We've dropped the Windy City Dream Team. They're just known as the Strong Brothers. And of course, I brought in DJ Peterson. I'm a big fan of DJ Peterson. He partners up sometimes with Derek Dukes and young Rick Sampson, who was a WWA prospect who left the WWA. I went ahead and brought him back. I also brought in Fred Curry, Flying Fred Curry, who was a very good wrestler for a lot of years, very fundamentally sound. I have brought him in. He's doing a lot of tagging with Dick the Bruiser in a feud with Prince Mama Muhammad and the Polynesian Wildman. I signed Billy Bart from Texas. He catches matches here and there. I've also signed David Sammartino, although I have yet to be able to use him on one of our shows. Our top heel is the Great Wojo, which is Greg Wojciechowski. Of course, Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. and Don Kent are still around. Paul Christie and Johnny Stewart are doing some tag team action, tag team work together. I brought in Paul Christie's former tag team partner, whose name escapes me at the moment. It's Roger Kirby, and he was here about 2 weeks and he retired. So I was no longer able to use Roger Kirby. We still have Kelly Konitsky on the roster. He's a fundamentally sound wrestler. We have Prince Mama Muhammad and Polynesian Wildman, former world tag team champions. I'm a big fan of both those guys. They're big, powerful guys. We also brought back Abdul the Great, who was also a former tag team champion. Sorry, everybody, I have the hiccups, and there's not much I can do about it. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm going to hold my breath for 10 seconds. Just take a look at the screen. All right, hopefully I got this hiccup issue settled here, but we'll see. We have the Super Samoans, everybody, and that's Kokina and Samu. Of course, you know Samu, but Kokina is the future Yokozuna. So they are cousins in real life. I think they tagged in real life also somewhere. And here they are in the WWA, and they're a pretty darn good team, and they are managed by none other than Don Carson. I've also brought in the Executioners from the East Coast. That's the Terry Minton and the Jerry Fazio version. Very, very good team, and they're doing well for us. They are in a feud with the Strong Brothers. They are also managed by Don Carson. The Golden Lion, of course, is Dick the Bruiser Jr. The guy is awful. I very rarely use him. I keep him around strictly because he's Bruiser's son-in-law. I just recently brought in Brian Adias. He has not made his debut yet. He's going to fill a heel role for us. I was looking for good wrestlers, good brawlers that aren't overly expensive. And guys like Terry Taylor, Chris Adams, and Brian Adias, they fit the bill. I almost called him Adidas. It's Adias, Brian Adias. Of course, for those of you that aren't familiar, Brian Adias was a big-time mainstay in World Class, and he was very good friends with the Von Erichs. He also had a really good heel run where he tagged with Chris Adams, brawling with the Von Erichs. I brought in Boris Zhukov from the AWA. I have him also managed by Sheik Adnan LKC, along with the Great Wojo, and Zhukov's doing some very good things for us. El Bracero, everybody, a long time WWA talent. Jose Martinez is his real name. Very good wrestler. I brought him back. He works occasional matches for us. Don't think that everybody on these rosters are being used every week, because they're not. They're just people that we can bring in and use when we want. I forgot to talk about Calypso Jim. Calypso Jim was Bobo Brazil Jr. He's still in the ring, and he's like 70 years old. In fact, I think he's wrestling next weekend in Indianapolis, and really good stuff. Calypso Jim was a very good wrestler in the WWA. He ended up holding the AWA World Heavyweight title, and he was the legitimate son of Bobo Brazil. But in the WWA, he wanted to make it on his own, hence he adopted the name Calypso Jim. I like Calypso, and he's good. So that pretty much does it for our roster. Our managers, of course, Dark Angel is managing a couple guys, Golden Lion, and a couple of the enhancement talents. We have Bunny Love. She's Paul Christie's wife, so she's managing Paul Christie and Johnny Stewart. And Don Carson, of course, is managing who we already went over, which is the Super Samoan Tag Team and also the Executioners. All right. Tag teams, I think you're familiar already with what we've gone over. We have Fred Curry and Dick the Bruiser tagging a lot. We've gone over the champions. We've gone over the Strong Brothers. We've gone over the Masked Executioners. Jerry Graham Jr. and Don Kent made a good tag team. They are still around. Don Kent is past his prime here. He's still serviceable. We still keep him around, but he is past his prime. Of course, we have the tag team of Muhammad and Wildman that are very good together. Christian Stewart and the Super Samoans. Enhancement talent. I brought in classic WWA enhancement talents that are already on the roster. And I've also demoted Rex Bodie down to enhancement. I've demoted Denny Cass down to enhancement. I have brought in Milo Huertas, who of course would become Invader number 4. He is the younger brother of, I can't remember his name now. Invader number 1 or Invader number 2? Invader number 2. He is the brother of Jose Gonzalez. He is the younger brother of Jose Gonzalez, who also went by Jose Gonzalez Huertas. And I think a lot of Milo Huertas. He's a young man, so we have him in here. He's cutting his teeth doing enhancement work. And of course, everybody else on the other side here was already in the WWA. Sultan the Great, the Black Cats, you name it, they were already here. I also just recently brought in Tasmaniac, who is the future Taz, everybody. He's a very young man here, learning his trade. So what better way to learn your trade than do some traveling and to work as enhancement talents? There he is. There is the young Tasmaniac, and he is only 19 years old. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us, everybody, for this episode and this introduction into the WWA save here. We'll throw this in combination with our other saves. It's kind of fun doing the random thing here lately, the random shows. Everybody seems to like it. I like doing it. Shakes things up, keeps things from being monotonous. So we're going to have some fun with this save. We'll be back in action tomorrow with Bruiser Bedlam. We got a couple episodes to record. I do not record these once a month. I break them up so I record 2 episodes. They run bi-monthly, and then we have our TV shows and our spot shows in between. If I had a larger roster, if I was a larger regional promotion, I would consider doing large, record 4 episodes in one sitting deal. But I also tend to not know who's going to be here show to show. So for me, that's not going to do me any good if, say, a Chris Adams is working for the UWF that night. I'd rather lose him for 2 shows than lose him for 4, if that makes sense. So, all right, that's going to do it for us, everybody. We are going to be back in action tomorrow with Bruiser Bedlam. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. For those of you that are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave us a message below. Let us know how you found the channel and what you think of us so far. Don't forget, you can find us on social media, facebook.com/groups/1987supermod. You can also find us over on Reddit under the subreddit of TEW 2020 Friends. Don't forget, we're also on Discord under 1987 Supermod. And everybody, don't forget to check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/PowerCast Network. Our Patreon page is loaded. You will get the 1987 Supermod version 10.1 and all of its updates. You will get all of our spreadsheets. You will get all of our shows early and YouTube ad-free and so much more, everybody. Patreon, the PowerCast Network, continues to grow. Be a part of it, everybody. It's only $5 a month. That's a cup of coffee, and it's well worth it, especially if you're a fan of the Supermod and a wrestling fan in general. All right, everybody, we will see you tomorrow.